Here, I'm going to talk to you about simple interest, how to calculate it in Excel, and then a very quick little trick that you can use to calculate it even faster using a formula. So, let's talk a little bit about what simple interest is. I'm using pretty basic numbers here, so it should be a little easier to understand. The principal, $100, let's say that's how much I have in a bank or some type of investment. And the interest rate for that investment or that principal amount is 5%. Now, if I'm using simple interest calculation to calculate how much money I'm going to have a number of years in the future, all I have to do is to take 5% of the original principal, $100, and add that every year. So let's say that I have $100 at the beginning of year one. I get my interest at the end of year one, $5, 5%. So I have a total of $105. Now, year two, I have $105 at the beginning of year two, right? Because I got paid for my interest in year one. So I have $105, but my interest payment is still only $5 for year two. Because when calculating simple interest payments, you're only going to calculate the interest dollar amount based on the original principal amount. So since my starting amount was $100 and my interest is 5%, the interest amount for every year, no matter what, is $5 when using simple interest. So every year, my investment will grow by $5. So you can see right here. Now, the way I simply calculated this was to say equals $5 plus 100. The other way to do it is 1 plus 5% times 100. And then for every year below, all that I did was add 5 to the previous year. And that's how you can calculate it down. So if I wanted to go to year 4, 5, 6, just like that. So once again, the interest amounts here, these are all in dollar amounts because I've already calculated them. You can see I've already multiplied 5% by the principal. And all I'm doing here is adding the interest to last year's total. So let me show you a quick way to do this with a formula now. That's a table. You're probably not going to want to use that. Kind of annoying, right? But you most likely need to know it, at least if you're watching this. So let's go ahead. I'm going to make some stuff up here. And let's talk about the future value function right here. I've got the syntax for it listed so you can reference it as often as you need. And it's simply you need a rate, number of periods, the payment, present value, and the type. Now to calculate the simple interest, we're not going to need to use all of this. So let's go ahead and look right here. This is what the basic formula is going to look like. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Equals FV, open parentheses. Now the first thing that we need is the rate. But since this is simple interest, there is no rate. It doesn't increase at all. Simply type 0 for the rate. Remember, it's simple interest. That's why the rate is 0, comma, the number of periods. Well, in this example, let's do it for 3 years. So our number of periods is 3. Now, if you're not using years, say you're using months or quarters, anything like that, that would be your number of periods. Just make sure that you adjust the interest and the payment for that period. I'll talk later about that in a more advanced tutorial. But for now, we want to calculate it for 3 years, number of periods, comma, what's our payment? Well, our payment is 5% of the principal, right? So our interest right here, our interest payment, $5 every year. So if you get confused, just remember, to get your payment number, you have to multiply the interest amount by the principal amount. That gives you the payment. The next thing is to figure out, or to enter the present value. So, comma, there we go. The present value is the principal, or the original amount that you first entered, or that you first invested. So for us, it is $100. Now we don't need to worry about type in this case or anything like that. So simply hit enter and we get $115. Now you may be wondering why this is negative, and if you're used to using a financial calculator to do these types of calculations, you'll remember that you need to input the present value as a negative amount. That gives you a positive result on your calculator. In Excel, however, the easy way to get around it is to simply enter a negative sign in front of the future value function. That negative sign makes it a positive number. So don't try and put a negative sign in front of the present value and later in front of the future value. Just put it in front of the function and it will take care of it. So that's pretty much what simple interest is, how you can calculate it by hand if you have to, and how you can use the future value function to calculate the interest, simple interest.